Hello everyone, in this video we will take a look at how we can get started with Angular and netlify-dev. Using netlify-dev, we can run the entire Netlify platform on our local machine, including serverless functions. So let's get started. So first we need to make sure we have Netlify CLI and the Angular CLI installed globally on our local machine. So for that we can run npm install -g at angular/CLI, and then we have to also install Netlify CLI. Alright. Now once this is done, we can confirm the installation by typing ng --version. So this confirms Angular CLI installation, and for Netlify installation we can confirm it by typing netlify-version. Okay, so once this is done, we can start by creating a new Angular project. So let's clear the terminal here, and then we can type ng new and then the name of the project. So I will name it ng Netlify starter. Okay, and here we can select routing, and for the style sheet I want to use SCSS. So now this will go ahead and create new Angular CLI project for us, and now currently it is installing dependencies, so it might take some time. So I will be back when it finishes. So once this is done, we can change the directory to our newly created project, and then we can open it inside the code editor. I am using Visual Studio Code Insiders build, so I can type code insiders dot. So now we can open the terminal here, and then we can run our Angular application by typing ng serve --open. So now this will go ahead and build our project for the first time, and then it will open the project inside the browser automatically. So this is how our default Angular application with the Angular CLI looks like. And now we can go back to the editor, and maybe let's open the new terminal tab. Actually, let's close this one, and then to use Netlify, what we can do is we can type netlify-dev. So here you can see we are getting our server is ready on port 8888, so we can click here, and then here we can see we are getting this forbidden. And if I open developer console here, okay, so you can also see we are getting this error here. So to fix this, what we can do is we first have to create Netlify configuration files. So that is inside of the code editor in the root we can create netlify.toml file. Okay, and in here we can use dev, and we have to specify the command that we run for dev. So we can add command equal to ng serve, because we are currently inside the Angular application, and then we have to specify the port that we want to use. So as we know, the default Angular application uses port 4200, so we can specify it there. And also we can specify the publish directory. So when we build our application, so what directory it creates. So in the case of Angular, this will be dist/ng netlify starter. Okay, the name of the application here. Okay, and now if we close the server here and run netlify-dev once again, so now you can see this is waiting for localhost 4200, and in a second it shows this is compiling. And now once again the port is the same. Okay, so that will proxy that 4200 port to localhost 8888. So now if we go back to our browser, and maybe let's close this one because this will no longer work, and if I refresh it here, so you can see our application is working the same way it was on 4200. And now if I maybe open source app and then app component.html, and maybe let's close or remove everything here, accept the router outlet. Okay, and maybe let's add h1 Angular Netlify starter. Okay, so now if I save it and then I go back to the editor, actually the browser, you can see we are getting this output here. Now let's go back to the editor, and now we can start by creating a new serverless function. So for that, we first have to specify the functions folder. So we can say functions port, and then let's maybe give it 3000 port. All right, and after that, maybe let's also specify the build directory, so we can add the build here. And for the build, we can use npm run build, and here we can also specify the published directory, so that will be dist/ng netlify starter. Okay, and then we have to give the functions directory here, and I will name it API. Okay, so now this will do. So now what we can do is, so let's start by creating a API folder, and inside of that, maybe let's start with creating API folder first. And now let's actually close the terminal here. And now to create a new function, we can either create it manually, so we can create a new file inside of that folder, or we can make use of Netlify CLI. So we can do netlify functions create. Okay, and if I hit enter here, so you will see the list of functions that we can create. So if you scroll down, you can see all the functions that we have available here. Okay, and in this example, we can use this hello world, and if I hit enter here, and we can name or change the function name here. So I will actually keep this to hello world. So if I hit enter, you can see, so now we are getting created API/hello world, and then we have this file called hello world.js. So if I go to API and then hello world and hello world.js, you can see we have this maybe async await method here, and inside of that we have the body, and whatever is inside of the body, we will get it as a JSON. And in this example, we will get hello world, and if we pass anything maybe with the query string parameter name, so we will get this hello and then that name. So now we can go ahead and then run netlify-dev command once again, and then we can see our server is now ready on port 8888 once again. So if I go here, maybe if I refresh it, you can see we are getting this Angular Netlify starter. And if I go to /netlify functions /hello world, all right, so you can see we are getting this message with hello world. So if I add maybe name equal to Baljit, okay, so you can see we are getting hello Baljit here. Okay, so now let's see how we can use this function inside of our Angular application. So inside of the code editor, let's close the terminal here, and maybe let's close every file for a minute, and then we can go to source app, and then we will create or generate a new greeting component inside of that folder. So we can open the terminal here, and then inside of new terminal window, we can type ng generate component, and I want to name it greeting. Okay, so here you can see we have this greeting component, and in here, if you go to greeting component.ts, we have this selector, and we can use this anywhere we want to use this component. And now if I go to app component.html here, and then we can make use of this selector. Okay, so now if I save it, and then I go back to the browser, and if I go to localhost 8888, so here you can see we are getting this greeting works. So now let's work on the styling of this application. So we can go back to our editor here, and maybe let's close this terminal. And first we can go to app component.scss here, and then we can target this h1 tag. Okay, so for h1 I want to align it to the center, so we can add text align center. And so this is the main maybe style file for our application, so we can target here all the elements, and we want to use font family equal to Montserrat. So this is a font that I have installed on my local machine, so this may not work on your machine. So for demo purposes this is okay. And now if I go back to the browser here and I hit refresh maybe, so here you can see our styling applied. And now let's go back to our greeting component, and in here, and currently we have this paragraph which says greeting works, and eventually we will replace it with the call or the data from our Netlify functions. So let's go to the greeting component.scss, and in here we can target actually the host element. Okay, so that will be the root of component, and here we want to use display grid. Okay, and then I can use place items center, so this will center the items both horizontally and then vertically. And for the background I want to use Angular color, which is DD0031, and for the color that will be the font color, and I want to use white, so you can see FF. And for the font size we can use to REM, so that is the relative unit, so whatever is the base font size of the application, so that will be double of that. And at last we can use text transform and uppercase. Okay, and now if I save it and then I go back to the browser, you can see we are getting greeting works in that container with that red color that we have added. Okay, and so now let's see how we can get the data from the Netlify functions. So we can go back to our editor, and maybe let's generate a service first. So we can do ng generate service, and I want to create greeting service inside of the greeting component, and then we can do skip test. Okay, so that it won't generate the spec file for us. So here we can see this has created the file greeting.service.ts here inside of that greeting folder. So now we can actually close this terminal, and now we can open this greeting service.ts, and here we can actually create a method called get hello. Okay, so this will actually make use of the HTTP module. So first we have to import it inside of app module.ts. So here we can do import from @Angular common HTTP, and then we want to import HTTP client module. Okay, and inside of the imports array we can say HTTP client module. So now we can actually save it, and here inside of our greeting service we can inject it private HTTP and then HTTP client, and we want to import it from Angular common HTTP. Alright, and for get hello we can do return this dot http.get, and we can do .netlify, actually .netlify slash functions slash hello world. Okay, so now we can actually save it, and then we can go to our greeting component.ts, and here we can inject this service. So we can do private greeting service. Okay, and now make sure to get this import statement here, and now we can do this dot greeting service dot get hello. Okay, and here we can create a property hello, and maybe let's assign it to the property hello, And now we will be using the async method for the observable. So either you can subscribe to it. So I will actually show it. So you can do this dot greeting service dot get hello, and then you can subscribe here, so you will get the data back. And then you can do this dot hello equal to data. Okay, so this will work, but we are directly assigning our method here, and then we can subscribe and unsubscribe using the async method inside of our component. So now we can go here, and then here we can do maybe hello, and then we can add async pipe. Okay, and maybe let's wrap it inside of parentheses, and after that we can access the message property here. So now we can save it, and if I go back to the browser once again, and here we can see we are getting this hello world. So now let's go back to our editor and let's try changing something inside of the function. And here we can go to, so let's close everything here, and then we can go to API hello world.js, and here we can add hello world, and then we can add that exclamation. And now if I go back to the browser and I hit refresh, we can see the output hello world, and then with this exclamation signs. So that's how we can connect Angular and then Netlify dev